What's up, my fellow horror comrades, slasher movies here, and I just got done marathoning all the Nightmare on Elm Street films, and you know what? Let's rank this franchise from worst to best. Now look, I realized while marathoning all these films that, one, I didn't recall most of the content, so watching these really felt like I was watching a lot of these films for the first time, and I also came to the conclusion that I'm not really a Freddy Kruger guy. I actually have a lot of problems with a lot of these films. I just want to, guys, let you know when I start this ranking video why I'm talking so much crap before we get to the good. Alright, let's begin. So starting it off at number 9, I have Freddys Dead, The Final Nightmare. This is by far the worst Nightmare on Elm Street film I've seen. Freddy is an absolute joke. He's constantly making one-liners. They don't stick. He's reenacting The Wizard of Oz. Everything in this is bad. The plot is ridiculous about Freddy possibly having a child. I don't like any of this. It's just everything is more about the jokes than it is about the kills. And the kills that they do have take far too long to the point where I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to get going. Like, this is an absolute chore to watch. Now, number 8 is The Dream Child. I believe this was the 5th installment in the franchise. And this is a very telekinetic, almost psychedelic, experience. I mean, there's a lot of colors, there's a lot of weird dream sequences in this. And I appreciate them for trying to be a little bit more artistic in terms of visually. The kills are boring. The characters are boring. The plot is just all over the place. And I do not like Freddy in this at all. He's so hokey. He's once again a clown. Everything is played for more of a comedy than it is a horror. This is not scary at all, which sucks because I actually really like the character of Alice in this film. I think she is actually a pretty capable final girl in this film, but she is brought down by such a bad script and bad kills and just an overall bad horror movie. Next up, I have the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I feel like this remake gets a little bit of a bad rap. I think it gets condemned way too much. Is it a good movie? Not necessarily, but I appreciate what they were doing. They were trying to make Freddy scary again. Yes, have the one-liners, yes, have the jokes, but making it menacing and terrifying. Like, there are some actually really great lines in this. I love that line, like, "Why are you screaming? I haven't even cut you yet." I actually love the look of Freddy Kruger in this, and I think Jackie Earle Haley did a really good job playing Freddy. But I think my least favorite thing about this is how repetitive it is, how familiar it all feels. It's basically playing homage to the original while not really adding any spark or flair. So if you've seen that original, and especially like me who's seen it multiple times, you kind of know every beat that's coming. This is gonna hurt, but Rooney Mara is not a good Nancy. I get she had a terrible experience making this film, and it shows on screen. She's so clocked out. She's so boring and uninteresting to watch. Alright, now coming in at number 6 is Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Man, do I struggle with this one a lot. I feel like I'm going to need to take some time with this one because there are things about this installment that I think are absolutely fantastic and really work. And then there are things that literally drive me absolutely insane. And those things is how much this film completely just gets rid of all the rules. And if you're going to do that, you better make it work and better make it more exciting. And to be honest, I don't feel like it does. It does give us a fantastic lead. I love the character of Jesse in this film. This movie is also titled basically the gayest horror film of all time. It blows my mind that the creators didn't know of all the homoerotic and homosexual subtext that can be taken out of this film. It blows my mind. But honestly, I kind of love that about this movie. It gives the movie more weight. If you watch it with that subtext, it seems like it's a story of a young boy who's afraid to come out as gay, and therefore, by holding in all of his fears and stuff like that, a monster emerges, Freddy Kruger. I think that adds some weight. I like horror movies that have this sort of subtext and, have these type of messages. If this was a different killer, I think I would have loved this movie a lot more. But the fact that it's a Freddy Krueger movie and you're coming off the original, it falls flat in a lot of ways. Coming in at number 5, I have A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. I swear this is when I start talking good about the franchise. Yes, this isn't a great horror film by no means, but it's a fun one, and I actually kind of enjoy The Dream Master. I love the dream sequences. Visually, I felt like this movie was very well done. The practical effects look really great in this film. I liked all the characters. I liked the kills. Yes, this is the installment where they kind of stopped being horror films and more like comedy, and Freddy's giving more one-liners than he is giving kills. But it's a really fun movie, and the soundtrack to this movie is great. 80s music in a horror film should never go away. Coming in at number 4, I have Freddy vs. Jason. Look, I love this movie. I can watch this movie any day of the week. This movie is an absolute blast. I actually love the characters. I love the kills. And as a Nightmare on Elm Street film, I think they do a great job with Freddy. And yes, this is the last time Robert Englund would play the character, but he does a great job with it. The one-liners, he's actually scary in the film, like the kills, and like I really like this one. I think it's fun, and that last 20 minutes when Freddy and Jason go ham to ham, it's an absolute treat. It's like horror movie heaven. It's so much fun. Coming in at my number 3 spot, I have Dream Warriors, a true, genuine Nightmare on Elm Street sequel. This movie is an absolute blast. I love the kills. I love the pacing. I love the characters. I love the location. Who doesn't love an 80s psychiatric hospital? Nancy is back. It's one of those horror films you can watch on repeat. It's just so much fun. And it introduces the world to Patricia Arquette, who, by the way, has a vocal cord, because every time she screams, I feel like I have to turn the volume down on my television. So coming in at number 2, I have Wes Craven's A New Nightmare. I adore this movie. This movie came out before Scream, so I get that the super meta nature was maybe a little bit hard to digest for some upon initial release, but I feel like this movie has aged extraordinarily well. I feel like this movie is a love letter to not only Wes Craven, but to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, to just horror in general. How this movie treats Freddy Krueger is absolutely fantastic in my opinion. There's a sequence in this film that I think is one of the greatest things Wes Craven has ever done, in which Wes Craven shows up in the film, he sits down with Heather, and they basically have a talk. It's almost like a beautiful father-son or creator versus creation kind of discussion about the franchise, about the purpose of filmmaking, about the purpose of horror, what horror means, what horror does, the importance of conclusion, the importance of leaving things be and moving on and telling a story and the power of storytelling. And it's an ode to Wes Craven in a way that I never thought imagined after his death. And I just adore this movie. And I forget actually how scary this movie gets. From that hospital sequence on to the very end, it's honestly quite tense and nail-biting. And of course, we've come to the finish line. Number 1, the most predictable number 1 ever. That's the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is a perfect horror film, an essential viewing for anyone trying to get into the horror movie industry or just enjoy watching horror movies in general. This movie is highly original. It's so inventive. It's so scary and creative. The kills are amazing. The characters are amazing. The plot is amazing. The idea of Freddy Krueger, how they portray him in the movie is amazing. Those are all my clickbaits. Really, you have to watch this movie. You have to watch this movie. It's absolutely fantastic. It's truly one of the greatest horror films ever made. How this movie utilizes dreams really was fantastic. And Wes Craven's direction in this movie is just insane. It's absolutely insane. And speaking of Wes, I love that man. And I still to this day don't think a death of any sort of celebrity or icon has ever affected me more than Wes Craven. I remember when I found out he died. I still remember to this day. I remember how heartbroken I was. And sometimes I still get choked up when I watch his old films. Didn't know how much that man meant to me and how much he influenced me and made me love the genre until he was gone. So you guys, there you have it. That was my ranking of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Let me know in the comment section below your ranking. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? If you have any other franchises you possibly want to see me rank, also let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, you guys, I'm the Slasher Movie here, and you guys have just been slashed.